Welcome one, welcome all to this GT3 Ferrari Challenge track guide series, and we are at a street circuit, and what a street circuit it is. It's Long Beach, one of the best street circuits out there. Now, if you lot haven't raced at street circuits much before, yeah, they're slightly different. You know, we have to give ourselves slightly more margins on things, especially in qualifying, because that little contact with the wall can ruin everything. Okay, so very much a risk and reward balance. Okay, some very hard corners here. Okay, in practice you're probably going to go in the wall quite a lot, and they haven't helped us by giving us just some ridiculous track temps. I mean, 58 degrees. Give us a chance, iRacing, come on. But anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? Right, so I think it's actually pretty competitive. There's a few little areas we can work on, but anyway, right, first thing to notice, brake balance is down at 51%. Okay, this is because coming into the corners, getting quite a bit of understeer, okay, because of the hot track temps, and the lower brake bias just helps to turn it in. There is one point in the track where you have to then increase it again, because it's an area where the rear can get a bit loose on turn-in. It's up to you how you do it. Brake bias can be subjective, okay? You know, your driving style might be slightly different from mine. I would say that if you are struggling with kind of understeer into the corner, then brake bias might be something that you might want to play with. Okay, those are my suggestions, and I will let you know where I adjust the brake bias, okay? Right, so coming down the straight, it's obviously a bit of a corner as well, but this is, you know, it's as straight as we get really at Long Beach, okay? So we've got our markers on the right-hand side, okay? We've got the 500, 400, 300, okay? And we're going to have to brake kind of before the 400, okay? I find the best thing to do is look at this red line, okay? And where it kind of moves into the right, okay? And we're braking before that, okay? So here, okay? So you're kind of lining it up, and it's before there, and it's kind of just as the 400 is starting to kind of go out your screen, I suppose. That's how I judge it. Again, you might want to pick yourself a different marker, maybe the red boards on the right or something like that, okay? But this is roughly where we brake, okay? And it's very important we don't go into this corner too fast, because if we do, we're going to end up in the wall, okay? And if we don't end up in the wall, we're just going to have to slow down so much. It's just going to cost us an insane amount of time. So make sure you get your braking done. Okay. So we're down, down, down. And we're down to second here. Okay. Could take third, but I would take second. Okay. Gonna get it in. I probably miss the apex a little bit here. Okay. You can definitely take a bit more, but this curb becomes raised about halfway up. Okay. And you don't want to probably take that. All right. So then we're careful on the throttle. So someone actually asked in the comments for like an overlay. I'm guessing to probably see the brake and throttle kind of traces. Okay, so obviously we have got it here. It's something I'll probably do next season, because we're in week 11 already. Can you believe that, right? So it's probably something I'll do next season, because I'm planning to do a few more track guides, and so it's worth the time investing in doing the whole overlay thing. Okay, I run full screen, which means I can't do overlays, so I'd have to go into the graphic settings and change it, and it will take time. But if I'm doing multiple track guides, then it's worth it. Okay, is my point. But you can see down here kind of what my throttle was doing. Yeah, so you can see it's kind of like, yeah, and a lot of corners here because of the high track temps, not a lot of rear grip. We are kind of progressive on the throttle. Okay, so up in third, then back down into second for this corner. And this is a corner that you can lose a lot of time on, okay? Obviously, hitting the wall, you can lose a lot of time. But also, on this second part, so we're braking, braking, braking. If you run too wide here, or you're carrying too much speed, you are going to lose a lot of time. A lot of time, okay? So we're going to bring it around, okay? We do use the curb here, okay? Yeah, into the weeds. Okay, very, very pretty, isn't it? Eh? Right, okay. So we're coming off, okay. And we're staying in second gear. Okay, very important. We're not too fast, okay. And we're as close to this wall as we can. Okay, and in practice, if you're doing it right, you'll probably clip it a few times. Okay, in qualifying, obviously, you don't want to make that mistake of hitting it because it will give you a 0x. In the race, it probably doesn't matter if you glance the walls occasionally. Okay, so then you can hold second here, but I was hitting the limiter. Okay, so I was up into third and then back down into second for the next one. Okay, now again, this is a corner where you can take a bit of curb. Okay, but we definitely want to be on throttle. Okay, before we reach it. All right, just to lift the nose. So we're about there. Okay, but very important, we're on the throttle. Okay, run it out wide and we're keeping it as close to the wall as we possibly can, and then we're braking down into second. Now here, this is probably for you to experiment how you are comfortable with it. Okay, because we can cut quite a lot of this. Okay, but sometimes it launches the car a bit. Okay, or we can kind of run our right hand wheels across here, and I did it both ways and both were kind of fine. Okay, this actually wasn't my best on the delta. This is going to lost me a 10th, but the rest of the lap was good enough to make up for it. Okay, so this is why I'm showing you this lap, but you can take a lot of it without getting off track, but as you see, it kind of just launched the car a little bit, and that was a bit of a problem. Okay, if you are just going to take the right wheels on here, we have to be really careful. Okay, really careful on exit. Okay, just, and again, throttle on before the corner. Yeah, you can see, very important here. Okay, whichever way you do it, and we're really modulating the throttle. And you see that it's Long Beach is very much like this, obviously to give you like a runoff area, but like you get the wall, which is actually kind of closer, and then it goes kind of wider. So there's a bit of an optical illusion here, and it means you have to get it right, and you can't carry in too much speed. Because if you're carrying too much speed, you're just going to run into this wall, okay? And it's so easy to do, really easy to do. In practice, you know, if you're pushing hard enough, you will do it a few times, okay? It is what it is. So we're super careful here. As you see, we've had a bit of a moment. Traction control's kicked in. I've had to correct it. Again, that bit wasn't maybe the best optimal how we could do it, but you know, the rear is extremely loose around here. Okay, so this is the area now where I'm pushing the brake bias from 51 to 52. Okay, which is quite a big change, really. You know, a whole percentage. But I find these next two corners, so this left and the next right, is the one where the car does rotate pretty well. Okay, on the brakes. So that would be my advice. Okay, now, in terms of overtaking, this is actually probably a better overtaking opportunity than turn one. Okay, because turn one, because of the way it is, you're going to have to dive it. Okay, and it's not actually that much of a slow corner. So it's a corner where you'll probably end up in a lot of trouble. Okay, and you're very likely to cause the car on your outside a lot of problems. Okay, and they're not going to be happy with you, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're looking at the 200 here. Okay, and so right just before we get to it, we're braking. Okay, and we're not braking. So around here, you're not really braking ever to like 100% because it is a bit bumpy. So you could kick in the ABS here. Okay, this is one of those areas where you could do it. Okay, so up to a max of about 80%, and then we're coming off as we turn in, obviously. Yeah, and again on a throttle quite early. Okay, and modulating it. Okay, so as we see, kind of I'm up to about, what's that, about 75%. Then as I try and get on to that little bit more, that's where the rear then starts to kick out, and I've got a bit of traction control. So I've put the throttle down a little bit too early here. You know, fine margins. Okay, none of us are perfect. Okay, but yeah, that hasn't really cost me that much time, but it's just not optimal. Okay. Now we do need to set ourselves up for this next right-hander, so we bring ourselves right across to the left. Okay, and we're looking at the 200, but we're going to brake in before it again. Okay, so we don't want to brake too hard here. Okay, because we want to keep the car nice and settled. And this is one where whatever you do not right wheels here. You have to cut this one. You just have to get as close to the wall. Pretend that curb isn't even there. Doesn't exist. I can't see it. Okay, so we're turning in. Okay, and we want to get as close to the wall as possible. I'm probably not as close as I could be. Yeah, there's a little bit there. Okay, but it's all about getting this angle right. We're just turning in. Okay, Get as close as we can. And again, this is one of those walls. It's probably better from this point of view to show you. But you see, it's kind of a type error up to here, and then it gives you extra. So the line is super important here. If we carry in too much speed, you know, to avoid this, you're going to have to slow down so much, okay? And it just costs you so much time. So we have to make sure, yeah, that we're tight enough to avoid it. So the line is super important. The other thing here is that, once again, we're modulating the throttle. So as we see, we're on, yeah, on. Oop, felt the car a little bit, so came off. Then we're back on, okay? You have to modulate here. The rear is very skittish under braking, okay? So this is where we make the brake bias change back again. I should do if I remember. Do I remember? Oh, yeah, there we go. So we're back down to 52%, okay? So as we come down to 52%, and here we're looking at the 400 board, okay? But it is actually kind of at the 400, yeah? So we're there, okay? Again, not mega hard on the braking, okay? This is another place where you could, there's actually quite a lot of overtaking into this corner, okay? Because that previous corner, cars will often break traction, not get a good exit. And again, if you're carrying that little bit too much speed because of the way the corner is, you're going to lose a lot of time. And if you've got a good run through, there's a chance you can overtake. Okay, so this is probably, in fact, this is probably the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. All right. Brake, 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 down into second. Okay. And again, we're on the throttle before the curbs. Super important just to lift that nose. Yeah, get the acceleration going. But again, we're modulating. Okay. Modulating, modulating. We're back around. This is a very hard section of track, okay? There's no two ways about it. It's just about feel, okay? You just gotta feel it, okay? Just yeah, I can't. It's the sort of thing you have to drive time and time again, okay? Active reset is going to help you a lot here. So you want to just basically second gear it, and then it's just finding the right amount of throttle and brake just to hold the line, okay? The line is the most important thing. You've just got to maintain a super smooth line all the way across. You can't go too wide, okay? It'll kill you. And obviously if you're too tight, it'll kind of kill you for the second bit. So here, there's like two apexes. So this is your first one, okay? Which is fine. If we're too narrow, you're going to kill your entry into here, okay? But if we go too wide, yeah, you're just doing too much distance, okay? So this is the line that we want, okay? And we do that just by modulating the throttle, coming off, coming on, and we're just keeping that arc, okay? Keeping the arc by modulating the throttle and the brake, okay? Sometimes you might just have to put a little bit of brake on, so brake, throttle, brake, you know, it just to hold that smooth line across the two apexes, okay? You want to be, you definitely don't want to be in a situation here where the car is unsettled, okay? The car has to be perfectly settled here, okay? And so we get to sort of like this point and we're starting to brake for the corner, okay? You know, you have to be right on the left-hand side, okay? This is a terrible place to try and overtake. Just terrible, because you're not even going to get round the next corner, okay? You have to put on so much steering lock here, okay? We brake, brake, brake. And this is a first gear corner. The Ferrari does actually have a first gear, okay? And this is a moment where we're going to use it, okay? So, again, we're sort of braking into it. And as you can imagine, the rear is very unstable here, okay? We're in first gear, not much grip as it is. And so we're kind of a high chance, okay, of spinning it, as we see, on the throttle, modulating it. And I still get a little bit of wheel spin, okay? So as we come here, I've tried to get back on and a little bit of wheel spin. This hasn't actually cost me that much time, okay? But yeah, it's just one of those things, okay? Now, here we, so at Long Beach, your second lap can actually be pretty good, okay? So if your first lap, you make a little mistake, you brush a wall, don't worry about it. Second lap, you've got a chance, okay? Racing here will be very interesting. If it's your first sort of like time at a street circuit, it's going to be very interesting, okay? There's a lot to learn, but it's a lot of fun, okay? And street circuits is the sort of thing where you have to build up your confidence, okay? You have to do quite a lot of laps, okay? If you're someone who just likes to jump in and race, this is going to be really hard, okay? You're going to have a lot of problems here, okay? It's all about practice, building up your speed, building up your confidence. But I tell you something, once you've got that confidence in the car and you're just nailing laps really close to the wall and the rear's sliding out and you're just glancing it here and there, it's awesome. Street circuits, that honestly, there's nothing better. After a proper street circuit race, just brilliant, absolutely awesome. So I hope the racing this week is really good for you. Okay, hopefully this track guide was useful. Only one more week to go. Okay, and then we get a little break and then back again for next season. Okay, enjoy, guys.